Henry Ferguson Avery presenting Julian Treasure, How to Speak So That Others Want to Listen. In this TED Talk, Julian Treasure goes through several steps about what is good about speaking, what should be avoided, some principles to use, and some tools of the human voice. However, I will not be covering a vocal warm-up section which he does with the audience. He imitates things for the audience to do, they repeat them, and he just demonstrates good vocal technique. I do not have a visual aid to do this, so I cannot demonstrate these to you. Julian Treasure is a speaker for TED Talks. He presents different talks on effective speaking and listening, and this specific TED Talk is about how to effectively speak so that people want to listen. Julian is the founder of the Sound Agency, a business that teaches other companies how to use sound to better their outputs through motivating or other means. In addition, Julian was also a drummer growing up, playing for many British bands, including the Transmitters, giving him a background with music and sound from an early age. Lastly, Julian is the author of 2 books, How to Be Heard and Sound Business, both focusing on his strengths as a speaker and an entrepreneur. Julian Treasure has a philosophy on teaching listening to children. He states, "We teach our children how to read and write, but not how to speak and listen. Listening is untaught and usually unpracticed. Our amazing human voice is marginalized as we communicate more and more through text, not spoken word." With this statement, Julian is making a point that active listening is a process which is not taught to children growing up, and that our society is growing fonder of using more indirect means of communicating. This causes bad habits in speaking, something Julian wishes to help eliminate. His vision is to transform the world to have people be inspired to listen consciously and speak powerfully. Julian begins his TED Talk by discussing bad traits in speaking. He labels these as the 7 deadly sins of speaking. The first of these he lists is gossip. He says to avoid gossip because it is not nice to speak ill of someone else, and usually those that gossip with someone are just as likely to gossip about that same person. Julian believes gossip carries these connotations and that it should always be avoided. The second point is judging. Julian says that by speaking in a judging manner, it doesn't make people want to be judged, and they may not want to hear what you have to say. Nobody wants to be judged, and by avoiding judging others, others will not judge you. Negativity is also a topic of avoidance. People don't want to hear negative things too often, or they will start thinking negatively, and that leads to less enjoyment and less listening. Going along with negativity is complaining. Hearing others complain day in and day out never is enjoyable, and it should be avoided as much as possible. Julian believes that excuses and those that always make excuses are a bad way to handle situations. It's hard to listen to someone who can't take responsibility for their actions. Lying and exaggerating are also hard to listen to. Lastly, dogmatism is the confusion of facts and opinions. Julian states it's difficult to listen to someone who is bombarding others with their opinions and treating them like they are facts. In order to ensure positive speaking habits, Julian presents the idea of HAIL. HAIL is an acronym for the best way to speak to people to have them listen. He states, speaking with honesty is a good way to have people believe what you are saying, that one must be clear and straight in what they say, not twisting or warping the truth. Authenticity is also a very crucial part in effective speaking. Being yourself makes you more credible and believable and prevents lying to your audience. Being trustworthy and true to your word involves integrity and will increase the odds of others wanting to listen to you. Finally, love is important. Not in an emotional way, but in a way that means you care. You want to treat them like the people they are and tell them that you respect who they are. This HAIL concept is a good rule, but it is also important that not one particular subject is overstressed. These subjects are best held in harmony and kept with equal temperament. Having any one or two be too strong, and the others will lose their value. Julian Treasure tells the audience that the human voice is a tool that is not fully utilized. As a speaker, he makes sure to try to incorporate many different aspects and qualities of the voice. He starts by showing different registers and their uses. He shows that the chest voice is the most authoritative and powerful as compared to the throat, nose, or falsetto. Timbre is the quality that determines how your voice sounds, such as its smoothness or coarseness. Vocal timbre can be helped by a voice coach, and having a poor quality timbre can distract a potential audience. Prosody is how the voice flows through the statements. If one is monotonous or ends every statement like a question, then their prosody needs improvement. Julian shows the importance of pace and pacing in addition to the use of silence. Pitch can show different emotions easily and different meaning in the same words. Volume is also important to be considered about and is a great tool to get and keep people's attention. However, it is important to not overuse volume or any of the other tools in the vocal toolbox. While watching this TED Talk, I began to think of a couple questions in regard to the material. My first question was, in an age of growing technological usage and dependence, how can we convert these speaking rules to further help us? After some thought, I believe that Julian helps to address this question in his wrap-up statement. In that statement, he asks us, what would speaking be like if we were to speak powerfully to a consciously listening crowd in a designed soundscape? With his question, it lets me think about the designed soundscape. As our technological improvements get better, there will be a day when we can have a carefully designed soundscape. We already possess a great platform with the internet and streaming videos and wouldn't need to change any existing rules to help us. Would it be a stretch to consider that one day we will be able to speak powerfully to an audience with technology improving our performance? Technology could be an amazing bridge that delivers our powerful speaking, and as shown by viewing the TED Talk 3 years after it happened, it can be. The second question elicits similar thoughts. The question reads, along with technology, more people communicate without their voice or physical persons nearby. How could these rules better be adapted for those driven more by text? The messages Julian Treasure tells us about avoiding the 7 sins of speaking and hail are held constant by text as they are human traits and apply to any medium of communication. But the vocal toolbox tips would be somewhat lost through text, as there are not very many ways to convey prosody, pitch, or timbre through text. However, the other elements of voice can very well be transferred from phone texts or emails through voice. These rules can still apply to pacing, such as proper punctuation or spacing messages, but the content is under the discretion of the reader. This will surely be experimented with in the future by different companies looking to increase user satisfaction by making more ways to emote and act human through text. The last question I asked, is the age of face-to-face communication ending due to the increased prevalence of the 7 deadly sins of speaking? Is more open-ended. In our country, it is very interesting to see government leaders and figureheads use text-based social media and violate many of these rules daily. Most of our entertainment is entirely based around the violation of these rules and ignoring Hale principles. However, the age of face-to-face speaking is not ending any faster than it would be, even with all of the technological and social implications. It is human nature to seek intimacy, and there will always be a need to convince an audience, no matter how big or how small. In addition to these image citations, if you want to find more out about Julian Treasure, you can go to his website, juliantreasure.com, to find out more about his methods, his style, and his business. Thank you.